just wanna pop, pop, turn around, and. I just wanna pop, pop, turn around, and. I just wanna have fun.
I want to talk to you about the things that I want to see in the new Fold. I'm coming from the Fold 4 and also the Fold 5, so I'm a big fan of the foldable now. But please do take this with a pinch of salt because some of it is rumors, but next week I will be able to show you some really cool stuff. So for now, let's talk about the things that I'm expecting in the Fold 6 and whether or not you should care about. I have to start with the display. I'm fully expecting and hoping as well for a larger display, but, and this may be controversial, I'm kind of hoping that it's not much larger than the current one. And hey, maybe I'm alone in this camp, but I do like the form factor, this narrow aspect. I think we do get the best of both worlds here now with this alleged bigger display that we got coming, but who cares what I think, right? What do you think? Do you prefer the narrow design? I quite like for example, the Xperia 1 Mark V and Mark 6 because it's narrow, but what would you like to see? Would you like to see that bigger display at the front? You know, like some of the Chinese brands that we've been seeing now for the last couple of years, and also the Google Pixel Fold. When it comes to the inner display, obviously when you open it, it's where the beauty of the Fold is really. I am still hoping though that the crease is a little bit better, but to be honest, it's never been a problem for me since the Fold 4. I never had the previous Folds, but I do understand that, you know, if you don't like it, or you can't get past this crease. I do get your point, especially if you never used the foldable before. I won't sit here and lie to you. You can see a crease. It doesn't bother me, and it's such a small compromise really when you think of everything that you can do on the Fold, but it's visible and you can feel it at times as well. The next thing I would like to see is a newer, fresher design. Rumors and renders that we've seen so far show a less rounded and a little bit more kind of a boxy design, a bit thinner as well. I'm hoping that this is still a comfortable design because, you know, it's such a nice, classy phone to hold, but also very comfortable and very ergonomic despite it being, you know, a thicker phone than the usual kind of slab design. But from the renders I've seen, it looks pretty sleek. A titanium frame like we've got on the S24 Ultra would be the cherry on top, but I don't really think is necessary. In my recent S24 Plus and S24 review, I called out the fact that that finish that they've got there, the aluminum finish, was actually really nice and it felt very premium even though it wasn't titanium. From an ergonomics perspective, I already think that the Fold 5 is perfect, so having it thinner and lighter would be nice, but I hope we don't lose this classy, elegant feel of the Fold 5. I really think the weight and the balance of the Fold 5 currently makes it feel more premium than other phones. Also, we mustn't forget about durability. I don't know if having a thinner foldable, you know, does anything to that. It certainly raises concerns from my perspective. So I'd like the Fold 6 to continue on that trend of being better and better when it comes to longevity, because durability is the single biggest question I've got from you, my viewers here on the channel. Honestly, I think since the Fold 4, those problems are more and more isolated now, but it does make sense to get some sun care, for example, when you get the Fold, and especially if you use it outdoors a lot, perhaps, you know, you work in places where you might get knocked out. As a side note, I wouldn't recommend anyone to rely on network providers insurance because they usually come at a much larger cost. You know, the premium is higher. This will depend on your situation and how you use your phone as well. My Fold 5 is always indoors, either here in the studio or at home. I don't really worry too much about that either, but I appreciate that insurance and just durability is a concern. So the thing to evaluate for you is, you know, what is best for your situation, depending on how you use your phone, whether you use a case with it or not. I tried cases for the Fold before and I'll definitely try them again. But sometimes, and in most days actually, I like to go naked with it. Now, when it comes to the cameras on the Fold, is something that I'd love to see an improvement as well. It would be a bonus because the Fold isn't really, you know, if you really think about it, it's not really about the cameras. But I do think we're very close to it being now more than good enough for this target audience. I'd love to see a better camera, of course I would. I do think Samsung should focus more on the Fold cameras in general going forward. And I hope that they are doing that with the Fold 6 because I think a lot of customers, including myself, would potentially move from the S series to the Fold if the cameras were higher spec, right? Because let's face it, the cameras on the Fold 4 and Fold 5 were good enough, but customers want a bit more when they pay that much for a phone. Oh, and before I forget, Samsung are giving you a $50 credit when you reserve your new Galaxy through the pre-order system. And one lucky customer will actually get $5,000 as well. It's totally free to reserve and it only takes a couple of clicks as well and a few seconds to do. No need to even enter your credit card or address or anything like that. absolutely zero commitment to buy, but if you do end up buying a new Galaxy using this link, you get this nice discount and a potential to save $1,500 as well when you pre-order. Definitely worth doing, no strings attached. That's why I do it every year, and they don't really spam you afterwards. Now, when it comes to the S Pen, let me go get this one sec. When it comes to the S Pen, this one is a little bit far-fetched, but I would love, it would be a dream really, if we could get a better way of using the S Pen built into the Fold. This case with the S Pen is fine. I've reviewed it before, from the first day when I got the Fold 5, but I really think it would transform how people use the Fold if it was built in like on the S24 Ultra. I do like that it's slightly larger, but maybe, if they were to make it smaller even and to fit it in here, I think that's a compromise as well that I would be more than okay with. Now, this next one is going to be controversial again, because I appreciate that some people actually use this for work, but I would rather Samsung remove the camera that we've got here under the display in favor of improving the camera sensors of the main cameras. I could be wrong, but I think this is a trade-off again that most people would be okay with, because I'd imagine most people would still use their laptops or tablets for things like conference calls, and that camera, the quality isn't that great anyway. But let me know if you actually use this front-facing camera, and if you were to lose it, it would be a problem for you. And now time for real talk. Is this a decent upgrade for Fold 5 users, including myself? If you've got the Fold 5 last year, is this actually going to be worth your money? Probably not. There would be very few Fold 5 users, like tech reviewers, who would benefit from an upgrade now, unless of course Samsung does something incredible here, or perhaps you can get a really good deal with your network provider. That means you're not going to be losing a lot of money. I think it's likely that Fold 5 users won't see a need to upgrade at all. What about Fold 4 users? And this is where it starts to become, the phone is going to be 3 years old soon. It starts to be a little bit different from a performance perspective. But I still think, look, I had the Fold 4 myself until not long ago, and honestly, I still think that phone will be strong for at least another 2 years. But if you do push your device, with gaming and things like that, and you're starting to see some battery issues, for example, then from a Fold 4 perspective, it might be a good upgrade. But Fold 5 is going to be a push. Now, something that not many people mention, and I hope it improves, is not actually about the device itself. And it's a general thing with Android. I think it's not really so much about Samsung, but it's about the resale value. The long-term resale price on the Fold, forget long-term, like a year. I tried to sell my Fold 4 and I paid whatever it was at launch, $1,700. And I think I got $750, maybe $800 for it a year later. It has been terrible in the past, it has to be said. But most people buy this phone not to be replaced every year, right? So if you're considering it for the next 2-3 years, then it won't matter as much. But do be aware that if you do want to upgrade next year, you're likely to lose some of that resale value. That problem isn't as bad as it is here in Europe, but in America, for example, you get some really good deals every year that the trade-in that Samsung offers can be actually pretty decent. Not to mention that $50 I mentioned earlier, that credit that you get when you pre-order it. It does help a little bit, but that's not available in every country. Another question that I can see a lot of people asking about is the design. If these rumors are true and some of these renders that we've seen online are to be accurate, some people may still think that the Fold hasn't changed that much since the Fold 3 or 4, right? And I would agree to a point. It's become more of a refined device, right? It's one of those things that Samsung's, once they settled on a device, and Apple are doing the same as well, right? They kind of, why change? But it's had some improvements, but if you are coming from a Fold 4 or Fold 5, like I said, the main benefits won't be on the external, I don't think. It will be under the hood. In things like performance and software features, that's where I think you see the most difference if you're coming from a newer Fold. I fully expect some cool updates as well on how we take advantage of this form factor, the fact that you can fold the device. That's what makes the Fold so special for me. Whether they do change the design completely or not, what is possible to do on this device just for work and productivity is nothing short of amazing, as you can see in my previous reviews here. In my case, I am fully converted to the form factor. Apart from the camera quality, I really think that if they get the cameras to a point where they are S23 Ultra level, I'm sure I wouldn't need any other phone. Look, Samsung could do some crazy things too, right? We've heard a rumor that a Fold Ultra could be coming as well. Personally, I think we already have enough options out there. There's way too many sometimes, but having a Fold Ultra would at least be interesting. I spoke about this in my recent reviews, which is the fact that we get a lot of choice with Samsung specifically. They absolutely cover so many different profiles and budgets, and that has to be appreciated, I think. Exciting times, and I'll see you next week.